We're live on Spiritual Psychics TV with Paul Bannister and his guests for Spiritual Talk.
Hi everybody and welcome to Spiritual Talk here on SB TV. It's lovely to see everybody. It's that time of night. I know when you're sitting down eating your tea, but come and share with us. Come in and join us. We always have great guests on this show, and tonight is no exception. We have another great guest. But before we do so, guys, where are you? Where are you coming in from? Let us know. Come and say hi. Come and say hello to us. It'll be good to come and introduce yourself, where you're coming in from. And also Spiritual Talk, I created Spiritual Talk to give those people at home the opportunity to ask people that have been working in the esoteric field, mediums, healers, and many other modalities. And we'd like you or give you the opportunity to ask questions, especially if you're somebody who's developing your mediumship or just somebody who has an interest in mediumship. And not just mediumship, we are going to interview many different types of modalities as well. So come and say hi. Let us know where you're coming from. I'm not sure if the comments are coming up yet. We've had a few issues with good old Facebook, always the way. If not, we'll go straight in and we'll introduce our guest straight away. Okay, so I'm not seeing anything come up on my screens. Yeah, Facebook might not be acknowledging us, guys, so we're just going to wait a second. Like I said, well, actually, I'm going to talk a little bit about our guests as well. Oh, here we go. Great to see people coming on. Caroline, hello. Hi, Paul and Richard from Dagenham. Good to see you. And Sandra, good evening. Oh, I love the picture of the cosmos of your profile picture, Sandra. That's brilliant. I love that. Soma, how are you doing? Good to see you. Where are you coming in from? And good evening. I believe that's from Joanne. Oh, it is Joanne. Hi, Joe. Hope you're well. It's good to see you. And Terry. Hi, Terry. And where are you guys coming in from? Let us know. And don't forget to share. Hi, Carol. Good to see you, Carol. Spiritual Talk wouldn't be Spiritual Talk without you, Carol. We've got Corey as well coming on from Bournemouth. It's good to see great pictures. And Arlene, hello, and some great family photos there of your family. And Stace, hi Stace, good to see you, Stace. Thank you for joining us all the way from Sherwood Forest. Brilliant. Good to it's lovely to see you, Stace. And we're going to go straight into talking about, somebody else coming on. Everyone's saying hi now. We had nothing, like a London bus, when we suddenly get 2 or 3 at once. So, hi, Louise. It's good to see you. Where you're coming in from, let us know. And like I was saying earlier, I just touched on the subject of Spiritual Talk and the wonderful guests that we have on. This is your opportunity to ask them questions, everything you wanted to know, basically. Hi, Denny is coming in from Michigan in the US. Also, Cheyenne, how are you? Iowa in the US. That's brilliant. It's good to see people coming on from across the pond. North Dakota. And I love your name, Noodle. That's great. Hi, Noodle. Hi, Noodle. Hi, Melanie. Okay, good. And thanks everybody for joining. It's great to see you this time of night. You know, is this that time of night when we're sitting down eating our tea? Well, put your feet up and have your dinner and enjoy the show. And we've got another great guest tonight. We have the lovely Claire Morgan. Now, Claire is a medium. And I think it's fair to say she's also an international medium because Claire has traveled the world teaching. She is a natural born medium. And actually, when I spoke to Claire on the phone recently, she said her mother got her name right from the word go, Claire, which I felt was very funny. Claire is also an astrologist. I'm not very good at pronouncing my the astrology. Well, Clara put me right. But without further ado, please let me introduce Claire Morgan.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Claire.
It's lovely to see so many people coming in. Thanks, Paul, for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. And welcome to Spiritual Talk on SPTV. It's
Thank
absolutely
you.
Brilliant for you to give up your time because you have been And I never spoke, I said this in your introduction, because there's so much more to you, Claire. You've also been a tutor at the Arthur Findlay College, and you've also a part of the East Anglian Goddess Temple.
I am.
Which is, again, a very interesting mix, isn't it? And but is it fair to say your main focus is on astrology, or?
Well, I wear lots of hats. It depends really what people want me for at any given time. But I do, it is astrology, not well, it might be astrologist. I've never known it as that, but I'm an astrologer.
Astrologer, okay,
So,
okay.
But that's fine. That sounds like I'm slapping your wrist. I'm not at all.
No, it's okay. I wasn't sure.
But no, I do. I've studied astrology for many, many years, and I've taught astrology at the Arthur Findlay College. I've taught astrology to small groups, to individuals, and given talks on astrology, etc. Do charts for people. I don't do so much of that now because it's very, very time consuming. And as I say, because I wear many hats, I'm, again, shuffled from this place to that place. So it's really a case of who grabs me first and for what, which sounds awfully grand of me. And I don't mean to say that at all. But there's only so many hours in the day as well, Yeah. So it's a vast subject, astrology, vast. And I always tell people that when you look at a chart, it's like looking into a mirror. The more you look, the more you see.
Okay.
And it's amazing what you can tell when somebody gives you their time, place and date of birth. It's an honor.
So just touching on that. So I know I said in the intro that you're a natural born medium. Can you describe a little bit, how did you know that you was mediumistic? What was your journey in the early years?
Well, I can't say really 100% that I knew I was something different. I just thought everyone was like me. Not the hair maybe, but in general. And it wasn't until I was 12. I mean, I used to tell people things and say I'd seen someone, and my mum, bless her cotton socks, she knows it's wrong now though, she's passed, but she told me I was lying. Oh, don't lie,
Yeah.
And when I was 12, I was in bed one night and I could see this patch of light on my chimney breast opposite me, and it was all dark, and I thought it was a light from outside, but my garden, or our garden, backed onto another garden, so there were no lights. And as I sort of looked at this light, I could see my father's face on it. Now, my parents split up when I was 5. I'd only seen him twice, and my father's face was on my wall. Well, like most children, it was whooshed up with the covers, like they're going to protect you, because I didn't understand why I was seeing him in my bedroom, and just his head and shoulders, really. And I told my mum the following day, and I was really in trouble. So I learned to sort of keep stum, really, about things. But for devilment, I suppose, at school, I used to borrow, should we say, people's watches or a ring or something of theirs. And I didn't know it was psychometry then, but I would just tell them things. And they would say, oh, like this, and run off. And I thought it was hilarious. So there is a bit of a wicked side to me, not wicked evil, but wicked, because I like to have fun. I like to enjoy things. I like people in my classes to have fun, because I think we learn more when we're enjoying it. So
I believe it's an essential ingredient to have a good sense of humor if you're doing this kind of work anyway. I think it's essential.
Oh, it definitely is, especially because a lot of connections you get are very traumatic.
Yeah.
You know, you have some very sad connections, and you know, it's very difficult sometimes when I've done platform mediumship, you know, because they sort of all line up before I go on stage, and I know roughly who I'm going to go to. And if I know that it's something that is going to be a very difficult one, and of course, I'm only human, the same as everyone else. I would imagine lots of mediums have the same thing, is it gets to you. You know, if you care, it gets to you.
Yeah.
And so we'll always have boxes of tissues handed round. So, and I need them sometimes as much as everybody else does.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But it is an honour for sure. It really is. Working anywhere in this field is a real honour.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So rolling on now into your adult life, what made you start, or what took you into astrology?
Well, I'd always had an interest in it, but didn't know much about it. So I was sort of a bit self-taught. And then I thought, I think I need to find somebody who is a proper teacher and see if I'm heading in the right way. And I wanted to learn properly. So I then went to the Arthur Findlay College and enrolled on an astrology course there, and got to know very well the lady that ran the course, and had private tuition with her as well over the years, and then just took off. I just thought it was absolutely marvelous, and you know, it was something that's very addictive. I do tell my students it is addictive if you start to learn, you know, and the books aren't cheap, but it really is just, it grabs you and doesn't let you go.
I just want to apologize, guys. I'm sorry if you've got any background noise. I've got a thunderstorm going off overhead, so I'm sorry about that. Now, going back to astrology, it's a science though, isn't it? There's more to it. You know, we read our stars in the paper. It's all very generic. Sorry. What would you say to someone who would say that about astrology? It's all very, you know.
Well, it is a science because it's maths based.
Yeah.
So it's all calculus, and you're working with angles when you're looking at planetary positions. So you have oppositions, you have squares, and all sorts of other angular aspects to things. So, and because it's based on calculus, then it obviously is a science, and it's been studied for thousands of years. You know, it's an ancient science.
Yes.
And many people in the past would have had astrology as part of their upbringing, and they would work. I can't think off the top of my head of any names at the moment, but a lot of the scientists of their day would study astrology. And of course, all the top people like kings and princes and, you know, various other royalties throughout the world, and prime ministers and army generals and things have had their own astrologers.
So they would use that to mold the decisions that they were going to make.
Oh,
they would consult. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
I know
amazing.
Hitler definitely had his own astrologer. I don't know the name of the astrologer, but I know he did have one, and I know lots of other famous people and, you know, people in positions of power. I suppose if I was one of those people, I would want anything that could help me.
Yeah,
you know, because you want to win, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I guess especially back in the day. But it isn't. What is the one thing that stood out for you though on your journey with astrology? Was there one particular wow moment that this is amazing?
Well, I don't know. All of it, really. I think it answered so many questions for me, and it brought so many other things together, because you can spin off into so many areas. So you can do health charts, you can do relationship charts, you can do if you're moving house, you know, you can look for areas that might be good for you to move to. There's so many areas. So it's such a vast subject. You look at past lives. So it's not just this life.
Yeah.
You look at past lives as well.
So that I know you mentioned that to me this morning actually on the phone. Past lives. How does that work?
Well, I'm
sorry to put you on the spot, but I'm so intrigued.
That's fine. You ask whatever you like, Paul.
So from the starting point, how do you actually work from the start? Where do you get that information?
Well, generally speaking, this is how I work. I can't say it's how all astrologers would work. This is how I work. I generally will look at the sun. I look at the placement of Saturn. I look at Neptune, and I look at the 12th house. And I look at what's going on with all those things together. But I do get a lot of it from astrology, but I do also get help from upstairs. So I get spiritual help as well. But then I get that when I work with my astrology anyway, whatever I do.
Yeah, that would make sense. So that helps you. They give you that sense of where this person's soul journey is taking them.
Yes, but it's in the chart. It is in the chart as well. It just pads it out more, so, and confirms. Okay,
that's really interesting. Hi, Stacey. Stacey's put, after working with the different zodiac signs, I am in awe of how I believe she means person's zodiac sign, or how one person's zodiac signs all have the same or similar characteristics and personality traits.
Yeah, how one person's zodiacs. Yeah. Well, if they're all, you see, the thing is, when you read in the papers about what sign someone is, or you look up your sign, it is sort of fairly generic.
Yes.
And because you're just looking at the sun sign, so your sun sign is, say, Gemini.
Yeah.
So you look at Gemini and you see what it says is going to happen for Gemini.
Yeah.
And then, but of course, there's lots of Geminis and they're not all exactly the same. There's certain traits that they will have that are the same, positive and negative. But you have all the other signs in your chart. You have all of the planets in that chart somewhere. So it's like a jigsaw puzzle. When you look at a chart, as you're looking at that chart, you're piecing all the things together to make a whole person. So to make the picture that's on the box of the puzzle.
Yeah.
So yes, in certain signs, you will get crossovers where one sign will have the same trait as another sign. But in general, they are all quite different signs.
Yeah. Okay, let's say I'm a single man and I'm a Virgo, and I'm oh, by the way, I am happily with someone. If my partner's listening, just in case I'm in trouble. Hi, Connie. I could be in big trouble for saying that. If I was dating and I was a single man, would I turn to the zodiac? Would it help me find an ideal? Is there such a thing as an ideal match?
There is, yes. But there's always that special something that when you meet somebody that you cannot put your finger on. Like when you go to see a house, within the first couple of minutes or less than that of walking into a house, you either get that feeling or you don't. You can't actually put your finger on what it is. But from an astrological point of view, if you were comparing two charts, what you would look at to see if they were compatible is their moon sign, the sign that Venus is in. You look at their sun sign, their ascendant, and probably their Mars, because Mars rules your sexuality and your, attraction. Be careful what I say. So they're the things that you would look at initially to see if they were compatible. But the basic rule of thumb, being very general, is Virgo is an earth sign. So either Taurus or Capricorn, which are the two other earth signs. So you would principally go better with them. But as I say, the sun is a little bit further down in the list of what you would actually look for compatibility.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Hi, Carol. She's asked a great question. Are the signs still accurate as the world tilts a little bit every year? How do we make adjustments for that?
And that's a good question. Well, the world has always moved on its axis. And that's why I say about it being scientific, it's a science, because there's these wonderful things called satellites and all sorts that we have nowadays, and they can accurately monitor and track all of the movements of the planets.
Yeah.
So when any good astrologer will always, let's say, anyone can play the piano, but it takes someone with a special talent to be a concert pianist.
Yeah.
So with astrology, anybody could be an astrologer. You've just got to learn it and remember it. But if you have a talent for it, then you will be a better astrologer. If you have other abilities such as mediumship, clairvoyance, then you can blend that in as well. And I have to be a little careful when I'm working with students, because they'll say, oh, where have you, I'll tell them something about a chart we're looking at on the board. And then they'll say, well, where do you get that from? And I have to sort of stop and think, and I think, well, actually, I have to be honest and say, there is a bit of this on the board, but some of it I've had help from upstairs. So it's sort of, it all blends. It's just wonderful how everything blends together and everything enhances everything else. So although it's science-based, the way I work is also intuitive and work with clairvoyance and also mediumship. So people get around a more full reading.
Claire, that's quite a unique gift, isn't it, to combine the two?
Well, I don't know. I think there are quite a few people out there that certainly I know of a few that study astrology. I mean, the lady that tutored me initially, she was a medium as well. And I think that probably there's more of us out there than we realise.
Yeah.
And even if you're not a medium, if you have some form of psychic ability or intuition, then you would naturally blend that in, because it's a bit like breathing, isn't it? You just do it.
Yeah. I've just asked one of those questions that I should have thought about first, because I just realised our first guest on Spiritual Talk, well, coming up to about 2 years, 4 months ago exactly. But we interviewed a lady called Laurie St. Clair. Hi, Laurie, if you're listening, over in California, who is a medium, and she also does astrology. So yeah, you are right. I'll take that question back. You are right, absolutely. But it's still, for me, it's a unique, it's certainly a great tool to enhance your mediumship. It really is. You're not just relying on one aspect of your mediumship connecting to your guides. Do you know your guides that you're working with for specifically for astrology, or is there just one particular guide?
I have one main guide. I mean, we all have lots of guides, as you know, and I expect all the people that are listening here, most of them would know that anyway.
Yeah.
But I think most of us principally work with either one or two or maybe three main guides.
Yeah.
And I really have several, but one you asking me, it's made me stop to think, actually, is I don't always know exactly which one is giving me what information. I'm just grateful to get the information. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have that feeling when I'm standing up doing a demonstration in front of the public. You're just grateful that it's coming through anyway.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Carol's also put the stars which make up the zodiac signs don't move, so there must be constant variations.
The stars, yeah, but see, it's not really the stars themselves. See, people say, oh, I'm going to look at my stars in the paper, but it's really not the stars, it's the constellations that are called after like Capricorn or Gemini, and they do move slightly. So, but in life there is constant variations, and it's how we choose to interpret those things. It's how we choose. See, if you saw a car crash and I saw a car crash, you would give maybe a different, or certainly some of what you said would be slightly different to how I interpret it. So there's, I think with anything, there is always a little bit of play. But as far as answering that exactly, is I feel you'd really need to ask that question to an astronomer.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to duck out here, but I'm not 100% sure exactly what is being asked.
Yeah.
Am I being dim? Maybe I'm being dim.
No. Sometimes it's difficult when you've got a statement in front of you. And when, it'd be nice if Carol could give a little bit more on that. It'd be great. Hi, Hallie. Hallie's put, how do you know who they are? And what is that referring to, Hallie? Is that the actual sun sign? I'm not sure. Can you come back with a bit more?
She's probably talking about spirit, I think, isn't it?
Of course. She must be talking about the guides.
Yeah.
How do you, I mean, that's a whole nother subject on its own. Guides. Everyone's interested in their guides.
Yeah.
Do you have that personal relationship with your guides? And I know some mediums we've interviewed, they don't necessarily, they just have a feeling and know when they're there, but some have a more personal relationship with their guides. How is it for you, Claire?
Well, the guide, I shan't name him. I've never told anybody his name. In fact, I'll tell you why I have never told anybody, because for years it was the same guide and I knew it was. And I kept bugging him to give me a name and he wouldn't. And I said, but it's only polite. I need, I would like to call you by name because I feel I'm being more polite. So he did get a little bit, should we say, stroppy. Right. And he just spat out a name. And unfortunately, this is again a bit my sense of humor. I said, well, how do you spell that? So, but the other guys that I work with, I'm really not sure what their names are. And he was very true before he spat out a name, he said, what's in a name? It doesn't matter. And it's absolutely true. It doesn't. He's right.
Yeah. No, I know some people need that for their own their self in terms of their ability. They need something to hold. I get that, as I do get that. Chrissy, hi Chrissy, she's put, what does my birth date mean, please?
Could I just address that before we go to that? Do you mind if I address what the lady said before that?
Yeah, sure.
Talking about being on the cusp, because lots of people say about when you're on the cusp. There is actually no such thing as being on the cusp, because a planet will move from one sign to another at a split second.
Really?
Yeah. So the fastest moving of all our planets is obviously the moon, and that moves into a totally different sign every 2.5 days. Wow. So that's why the time of your birth is so important. Yeah. Because there are ways of doing it without the time, but to have the time you can draw up an accurate birth chart. Okay. So, and also if you look in some newspapers or some journals, you will, if you are allegedly on the cusp, then in some you'll be in one sign, and some you read you'll be in the next sign. Well, you can't be both.
Yeah. So how do you then say, okay, it's down to the time? There is literally, like you said, a few seconds and you're in one or the other. There's no differentiation.
Yeah, you really need to know the time to within about 3 or 4 minutes, to be really accurate.
Wow.
But I mean, nowadays, I believe, it's a long time since I had my daughter, but nowadays I believe they do put the time of birth on your birth certificate or your notes and things.
Good. I wish my mother had that option.
I think they've always done it in Scotland, or they've done it for a long, long time in Scotland, which is very, very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are ways of finding an accurate birth time, which is called rectification. So it's where you will get 6 events in somebody's life. So 3 positive ones and 3 negative ones. And then it's a long-winded process, but you work back to a common time, where there is a time that is common on the day you were born to all those events. So again, it's the maths coming out, you see.
Yeah. And as that, just going back to the guides to finish that other question off, I always like to ask, hi Hallie, I always like to ask the mediums, what was your relationship, or what was your understanding in that process of connecting to your guides? Was it a natural knowing that you knew it was a guide, or was it a relationship that built up over time?
Well, that is quite a difficult one, because I was aware that this particular guide, my main guide, was always around. I never remember him not being, and I just thought it was normal.
Yeah.
I didn't realise until as I got older, that not everybody seemed to have them, and that I was looked at as if I was a bit odd, you know. So, and of course, with my upbringing, that didn't help things really. So it was a bit of a private thing for a long time, something I kept to myself. I mean, the first person I really told anything to was before I got married, the first time.
Okay.
And I told him several things, because I thought, I don't want this coming out after we're married and for him to say, oh, I don't like this, or this isn't right. Although actually he was quite a scaredy cat when it came to spiritual stuff. So again, I learned to sort of switch it off a bit.
Yeah, I remember we interviewed a well-known medium, and his wife said, look, darling, I respect what you do, I like what you do, but can you please not keep bringing my grandmother into the bedroom when we're in bed?
That's exactly what happened to me. One night I told him his grandmother was standing beside the bed on his side and leaning over, and she was stroking his arm, and the love that came from her was just wonderful. I never met her, and I happened to tell him this the following day. He went ballistic. So after that, I sort of kept a bit stum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know a friend of mine had a similar experience, and her partner, he was in the forces, and he literally got up, went back to base, and that was that. He wasn't going to come back again for a long time. And it does affect personal relationships. It really does. And how we manage that is really quite important. So guys, we're going to go to a commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Go put the kettle on, make a quick cup of tea and come back. And we'll see you back here in about 30 seconds, I think. Around about 30 seconds. So you're going to make a quick dash over. And we'll see you very soon.
My Spirit Life is a free online interactive magazine for those who have an interest in improving their spiritual lives. Authors can upload images, videos, and audio clips to their own articles. The public can place comments, rate the article, and follow the author. All articles are vetted before being published. For more information and to place your own article, please visit myspiritlife.co.uk.
MySpiritualDirectory.com is one of the fastest growing online free listing service. Our search directory offers geolocation feature, rating ability, review system, map location, customer comment, YouTube video, gallery, social media sharing, direct contact with the lister, simple online booking and payment system. It's free to register and use. It even creates your own mini web page, which you can update at any time, and yes, it's still free, no monthly or yearly fees. 100% free. Creates your own profile page. Add social media and other links. Add a mini gallery and a YouTube video. rating, reviews, and comments. Includes online booking and payments. So, if you're looking for a medium, or a reader, even a church, maybe a healer, or any other spiritual service, then visit myspiritualdirectory.com.
Join Debbie Romero and guests tomorrow from 6 p.m., offering spiritual guidance, support, and readings.
Welcome back, everyone, and welcome to Spiritual Talk on SP TV. And with my guest here this evening, Claire Morgan. Hi, Claire. Welcome back.
Thank you, Paul.
So we were talking about guides and that personal relationship we have with our guides. Is there a specific technique that people could use to enhance their connection? Would you recommend a meditation? What would you recommend for people?
Well, it's like most things, it's practice, practice, practice.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to leave yourself time in the day when you can connect and they can connect with you. Now, at the moment, we have, or not at the moment, on the 17th of this month, it's a new moon in Cancer. And that new moon is opposite Pluto. So it's giving us a really excellent time for us to connect with our inner selves and to connect with our intuition and our psychic abilities.
Yeah.
So if people don't do anything else, if on the 17th of this month, if they give themselves some time and sit and just take some deep breaths and just ask Spirit. They're always around us. They're always listening. Ask Spirit to give you some information, to show you some evidence that they are there. And pay attention to things, because we tend, all of us, to blunder through our lives and not notice the small things, or to poo-poo it or say, oh, that's just coincidence. Well, as we know, there's no such thing as coincidence. So everything happens for a reason, and it's keeping our ears and our eyes open and to tune ourselves to the finer things, because any medium or anybody who is psychic, clairvoyant, intuitive, you are like a radio, like the old-fashioned radios. And what you're doing when you're trying to connect is you're tuning to get to a station. And when you get to that station, it comes through loud and clear, but there's an awful lot of crackling and interference before you get to that station. So it's just persisting. Like I was saying earlier on about you never be a concert pianist if you don't buy a piano. So you'll never improve your connection with Spirit in any way if you don't put the time in and the practice.
Wendy. Hi, Wendy. I used to see my guides during meditation, once developing, but now as I work in medium, I feel I just get Spirit direct and don't feel my guides. Is this strange?
I don't think so, because why? As long as you're getting the information and the connection, they're there, know them, you used to see them when you were developing, but now, do you need to?
That's the thing. Are the energies changing? Is our outlook changing towards connecting to our guides and the spirit world? Years ago, the idea of connecting to a different realm, people would have protection after protection after protection and prayer. They'd sit in meditation for 20 minutes to make sure they're protected and whatever they do. I don't believe we need all that. And that's why I feel that it's shifted potentially with that relationship.
Yeah, I must admit, I very much of the same thought. I don't think we need it all so much. When you're learning, it's good to know, like A, B, C, D, E, we need to know the steps and the building blocks and get those in place. But once you feel confident and once you know, I mean, I've always known that I am protected, that spirit will always be there for me. Nobody's ever told me that. I just know it innately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can't teach somebody else that. I can say that's how I feel. And I can understand if people are nervous or get a bit disorientated about things or a bit frightened. It doesn't help that we have all these spooky things on the telly and at the cinema, you know, and they scare the living bejeebers out of you, you know. Well, that doesn't exactly help things, does it really?
Hollywood's got a lot to answer for.
It has, but spirit will never harm you. They are there to protect you. Your guides are there to help you, protect you, and to be there for you. You know, some come in your life for a certain period of time, like say childbirth. They'll be around you for that, and then once you've got past that, then they'll wander off and help somebody else. So you have transigent, I think that's the word, guides, and you have permanent guides. So you know, everything is in constant change, and also astrologically there's a lot out there now. A lot of people out there know we are all being upgraded. So you saying about years ago we used to ground and we would do this and protect and prayers and all this sort of thing. Now it's becoming more of a, we're being upgraded. It's becoming more natural. It's becoming like breathing and eating and just everything. It's we're all being upgraded to a higher level of consciousness, and it's making things a lot quicker. I mean, everything is moving at such a pace now. The energies are coming thick and fast. And those of us that are on a spiritual path and are open to connecting with the energies, connecting with spirit, or whichever other, as you say, modality they work in, we're all beginning to notice things speeding up, and connections or our abilities are being boosted. You know, we are. It's like we're going from infant school up to, well, this is old fashioned, isn't it? Infant school infant school up to senior school or junior school, or up from what do they call it now? I can't think. Anyway, I'm going on to university.
Well,
so
we're going to university. That's good. We're
going on to different planes, you know, with our abilities.
Would you say then, Claire, on the back of that, would you say that that's not for specific mediums, or that's literally for all of humanity, raising our vibration?
Oh yes, yeah. It is across the whole world. We are now, when prior to, dare I mention the C word and say COVID, but prior to that.
Yes, that word you can say. Yes.
Yes. Well, no, I don't use other words. Well, not in public. So prior to that, people kept saying to me, you know, what's going to happen within the next sort of few years, because no one really quite knew something was coming. But I knew, and a lot of astrologers and psychics, mediums, all sorts of people knew there was something huge coming. 2020 was going to be huge, but we didn't really know exactly how that was going to play out. And I was asked by a number of people, and I said, as a race, human beings and this planet are at a crossroads, and it depends on which way we go on that crossroads as to how our future will evolve. And I still think in a way we've picked our path now, but we're very early days along that path, because there are things now that have changed that will not ever be the same again. And it's speeding up. So we've taken little baby steps on our new pathway, and now we're starting to speed up and speed up and speed up and speed up. And eventually, whether that will be in my lifetime or not,
Well,
I don't know.
I have this funny feeling that we won't need mediums because we'll all become mediumistic. We'll all become more open to receive the subtle energies.
Exactly. Yes.
And I find that an interesting concept. So mediumship per se, I think everyone will be able to connect. And I think there'll be more of a need initially for people to understand how to connect. And I believe
Yes.
there's a reason for that. And it, like you say, and interestingly, our next guest, as a quick plug, guys, we've got Diana Cooper, who's just brought us a new book out on this very subject. So, and guys, it's with your support as well. Just also, if you like to like SPT page, SPTV, can't get my words out tonight, Claire. We really appreciate it. It's your support that keeps us going. This is a free channel as well. Also, we've got a quick question here from Lou. Hi, Lou. Any of your family got the gift? I believe she means a mediumship.
Yeah. My mum was very intuitive. I don't know particularly if she was a medium, but she was certainly very intuitive, very psychic. And also my father, my blood father, was, because I've done his chart, and although I was 5 when I last saw him, so I never had this conversation with him. I've seen him more actually since he's been passed than I did when he was alive.
Okay.
But he was, in his chart, it shows he would have been an excellent medium. Really would have been, you know. And my daughter is also too. Yes, she is.
Okay. And quickly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the East Anglia, not quickly, but I want to touch on, because we do have limited time, that you're a member, or you're a priestess. Have I got this right?
I'm a priestess, yes. I'm a priestess of the goddess, and I'm a priestess of the East Anglia Goddess Temple.
Awesome. And I believe you I don't want to say worship, but you are is it worship Boudica, is it, or she is part?
We follow her because she was the queen of East Anglia.
Yeah.
And actually her husband was king first of all, and I can never pronounce his name right, but if anybody wants to know, I'm sure you can look it up online somewhere, because my pronunciation is not great.
So she was married.
She was married and had 2 daughters.
Did she
have? He was the king.
Yeah.
And he got killed, and he had no male heir to take over from him. So all his goods and chattels went to the daughters, but not the title. But she was his wife. Boudica was his wife. So she took up the cudgel. So, well, literally. And because she wanted to fight the Romans, because they'd destroyed everything, and were taking over, so she gathered all the tribe leaders together and advanced on the Romans. Particularly what actually sprung her into action, the final straw, was both of her daughters were raped.
Oh, okay.
By the Romans, and I can't name names, of course, but that was the final straw when she said, "That's it, enough's enough," and she had, you know, blood in her eyes, of course. So she gathered all the tribe leaders together and rallied all the troops, all the armies, and they really, you know, she was at the head, and they really, well, as we know, slaughtered the Romans. I mean, thousands upon thousands upon thousands. And she sacked London.
Colchester,
yes, because they all had different names in Londinium, because they were all being named after the Roman words.
Yeah.
She was originally from Norfolk, and her husband and her were then like the Queen and the King of Norfolk, but then obviously that spread throughout East Anglia. So we follow Boudica. She is our warrior queen, and she worshipped her goddess, who Boudica worshipped, was Andraste. So Andraste is one of the goddesses on our wheel. Well, she's the main sort of goddess, but we have 8 other goddesses on the wheel of Andraste.
Okay.
And we follow all of them, but they're all one goddess, really. They all merge into one.
Okay, so how do I word this? How does that help you, that being a part of that? God, I don't want to call you a collective. What would you call yourself? A faith? It's not a
Tribe.
faith. It's a tribe. Okay, we're
We
just
are
gonna
a
tribe.
tribe.
Okay,
Yes.
so has that goddess energy helped your mediumship?
I haven't really
Because
thought about it, actually.
there must be something within you that wants to be a part of that. Whether is there a past life connection? Is there something that drives you towards that?
It's a very spiritual connection that we all have. It's a friendship. We are a tribe. We're a big family, and I've always known there was something more than us. I've never really been a religious person ever, although I was pushed to go to Sunday school and church as a child, and that's fine. And I'm a great believer in whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
And I'm a great believer in the Wiccan code of "and it harm none, do as ye will." So for me, it makes sense to, why should everything, and I've nothing against men, I think they're rather lovely, actually, most of them. But everything has been patriarchal for so long, and it never used to be. If you go back far enough in history, it was the women that kept, hearth and home together, sort of thing. And there was a lot of goddess worship, going way back. They found goddess icons and pictures and little statues from thousands of years ago, across the world. It's not just here, across the world. So it's about time that things were more equal.
I just wondered, having that divine feminine energy, whether that would enhance your own ability to connect.
I'd like to think so. I haven't really. You saying it, that's good, because it's made me think, and I like that. I like to be made to think and question. We all should question. I don't know if being part of the goddess temple has enhanced my mediumship, but then I can honestly say I don't know if it hasn't. Does that sound a bit fence sitting? But
possibly, but I do wonder. I believe in nothing's coincidence, and whether it's a past life memory, whether it's that it makes you a complete version of you.
Well, I know quite a number of the past lives I've had, and I know I've had two definitely where I was a witch in a former life, and I am a white witch in this life too. Although why we say white witch, I don't know, because I suppose the connotations are there that black witches are bad, but it's just rubbish. I only work for the good, and also nature and natural things. I like to be connected to the natural world. And the cycles of the seasons, and it's life.
And I think there's a real trick here that we've missed, and we've become almost segregated, is that the right word, or sterilized from the natural world, where there is so much energy and connection. I remember developing and having experiences in my early meditations where I was connecting to Mother Nature. Now, the problem I had, I'm a guy, I'm very logical thinking, I've done a lot of football coaching. My mind was like, hang on, what is this kind of stuff going on? So for me, I was being introduced to this world alongside my mediumship. And I think that's a part of where people misunderstand mediumship. I believe mediumship to be the key to a doorway to a whole new world, and understanding the subtle realms and other information. I know mediums that don't believe there is an animal kingdom, that our dogs don't come back. Oh gosh, I've met all sorts of mediums, but it's there. I interviewed a gentleman who he believed there was no chakras, and he only saw color around people, but that's his experience, isn't it? We all have these different experiences.
That's it. I think it's, sorry, I'm interrupting you. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm sorry, I do that a lot, but something comes into my head, and if I don't say it, it's gone again.
Yeah, no, I'm the same.
I think lots of people don't understand, certain things, and rather than ask, because perhaps when they were a child they were told, oh, be quiet, go and sit down, we don't want to hear what you've got to say. So I think the majority of people are a little bit scared to put their hand up and ask a question, because they feel that it's a silly question. Well, there's no such thing as a silly question.
Yeah.
Or that they're going to be in trouble, or they're going to be embarrassed. So I think that's something that maybe we all ought to try and address a bit more, is to learn to question, and, if you want to know something, ask. You may not get the answer today, you might not get it tomorrow or next week, but eventually, like you were saying about the medium that sees colours but didn't believe in chakras, but maybe he just hasn't got that last little bit of the information that makes it make sense.
Absolutely. And he would swear blind they don't exist, and I've spoken to many people like, is he mad? No, it's just his perception.
Yeah,
it is his perception. And he might one day meditate and suddenly become so aware of these cycles of light around people. So it is, and it's about sometimes opening our mind to the possibility of something else. But Chrissy's put, how did we know 2020 was going to be such a bad year? Now, there was a lady on before, Richard, that she said that she was pulling out a lot of tower cards just before COVID hit. Yeah, it was Wendy. Hi, Wendy. Yeah, and she said she was pulling out a lot of tarot cards, which is the tower. The tower, there you go, the tower card, saying, there's something bad coming. Now, a lot of people are saying that about the changes that are coming. There's a lot of, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but there's a lot of people out there that are talking about these kind of conspiracies, things happening, and so much fear going around at the moment, going forward. For you, how do you manage that? Or
well, I have to say, like attracts like. So if we're fearful, that's what we'll get.
Yeah.
So the best, I know it's easy to say as I sit here on my penny farthing, but what you give out, you give back threefold. So if you can give out love, if you can give out positivity, and every time you catch yourself thinking a negative thought or saying something negative, stop yourself and replace it with something positive and something that is uplifting, and try not to get too involved or get sucked into conversations or, all this dreadful. I haven't watched the news for I cannot remember how many years. I catch odd snippets and I have a rough idea what's going on, in the world. But it's all doom and gloom and despondency. We don't need that. We need, if we all give out love, just imagine if we had a day where everybody smiled at people and said hello. One day, just imagine the difference that would make.
Yeah.
And it cost us nothing. A few seconds of our time, hello, and a nice smile, and that's it.
Do you know, you could practice this at home, people, if you're watching. You can practice how you resonate. Okay, so I would say by using your hands, warm your hands up and try to feel your partner's or your family member, their aura, and you'll feel like a resistance when you get close to them. What you could do is get them the other side of the room and then ask them to think of personal thoughts and of love, for example. Close your eyes and stop when you feel their aura, and then compare that to when they're thinking of, I don't know, bad things like Norwich losing 6-0, things like that, and you'll be surprised how close you can get to that person. It really affects us on an auric level. Our positive and how positive and negative mindsets can really affect us energetically, but also physically, because you're then absorbing that, Claire, aren't you? You're taking that into your body, and there's so much dis-ease within society It's quite interesting. So it's
Absolutely.
trying to keep out of the fear mode, but it's also trying to be real at the same time, trying to balance things. But I would say to people, don't get into the fear. Is there anything showing up in the charts at the moment of significant movement within the planets, or?
Well, yes, to answer your last lady, but how did people know that something bad was
Chrissy.
coming?
Yeah. Hi, Chrissy.
Yes, couldn't remember her name. I'm so bad with names.
Me too.
But to answer that, I mean, from an astrological point of view, we've had Pluto, which is the planet of power and transformation. It's so it's about our own power. It's also about control. That's been going through Capricorn, and now it's backwards and forwards into Aquarius. So when it moves completely into Aquarius later this year, we will then be, you know, a long time ago they were saying about the age of Aquarius has started, but it hadn't actually, but it was coming. But it will. So it started, and Aquarius is humanitarianism. It's all about people being part of a big family, whereas in Capricorn it's all about work and money and power and not greed as such, but building and making something and status, you know. But it's been the few that have had the power over the many. Now with Pluto going into Aquarius, it's going to be the many that have power over the few.
Absolutely.
So we are rising, you see, like Boudica. We are rising up. And there's lots of strikes and things. You see, that's something that's, you know, because people are striking because they want justice. And, you know, it's all about fairness for all, a level playing field.
And have you ever come across connections to Atlantis? Because I recently, I can't believe I'm actually admitting this. My guides were talking about Atlantis to me, and I actually had a vision of it. And again, it's that whole believability thing, you know. Even as a medium, you still want to know you're not going crazy. This is a real aspect of something that happened long ago. But astrologically, do you connect with anything like past civilizations, not just Atlantis, but other intelligent past civilizations? Do you have?
Well, a lot of the ancient civilizations also had their own form of astrology. So as I say, it's been around for centuries in one, you know, across the world in different cultures. So I would assume, and I have to say it's an assumption, that Atlantis, which I do think did exist, would have had their own form of astrology. Whether it would be something that we would understand today, whether it be in the same way, I'm not sure. But there's always been a thirst for knowledge, from any cultures and backgrounds. And if you go back to sort of like the Stone Age and that, what was around, it was the seasons, the weather, the animals, which the weather affected the animals for feeding and for clothing, etc., and the planets. And of course when there was an eclipse, you know, they were panic, worry. So of course there was a lot of store set by what was going on in the heavens. So it's always been something that no matter what cultural background people come from, we've always had a faith in something, and certainly astrology. So Atlantis must have had some form of astrological belief or some form of system that we would say was a form of astrology.
Well,
that's my belief.
We're always told by scientists or archaeologists, or we're always told or led to believe that ancient civilizations were primitive, but that's not the case at all.
No, I don't think so. They were different. You see, again, science has got its place, the same as everything. But science has taken over so much that now if you can't see it, feel it, touch it, it doesn't exist. We've lost the balance in things.
But is that the connection with the Capricorn going into that? We've gone into almost like a consumer reality where we need more and more and more and more. And like you said, we're building things, we want more, we identify with what we have to be successful. You know, if you've got £1 million in your bank account, then you suddenly become the successful person in society. But what I would ask, what value are you to other human beings? What do you bring? What is your legacy? It's one thing I want to look back in my life and go, what was the legacy that I left? One for mankind and one for my children. Hopefully they've not got to tidy up the house after me. I'll try to tidy it up before I go, sort out all my debts. But yeah, there is that essence, isn't there? What you know, leaving a legacy. How do we contribute to being here? What is it we're here? And that's again something I was going to talk about. Astrology. Does that come out of someone's chart? What is their purpose? Because these are big questions, and we're always striving for these big questions. And science today doesn't even know what consciousness is, although there's a lot of work going on about consciousness, but it still can't pinpoint what actually creates consciousness and how it's created. And this whole idea of us being conscious beings, some people believe it sets us aside. I don't. I believe all animals and all life, it has a consciousness of sorts.
Well, that's, as I believe it, that's what is your very essence, your being, your spirit, is a consciousness. So
can you get that in a chart? Can you pick up someone's, sorry, I'm asking you multiple questions and I'm starting to go off on a tangent. I'm so sorry, Claire, but it's really interesting because I'll tell you why I'm saying this stuff, because the best reading I ever had was from a chart. A lady did it. She took my birthday, the time I was born, and I have to say it was the best reading I've ever had. She knew things about my childhood that no one has ever mentioned. She even knew I obsessed about certain things and certain brands of clothes. I'd only wear Wrangler jeans when I was a child. That's going back some. And she was, I can't remember the lady that did it. She knew I was a medium. She knew I was a healer, etc. She was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So that's why I'm kind of intrigued as to how much knowledge you can get out of a chart, someone's chart.
The only it's easier for me to say what you can't get. And I know that sounds a bit of a cop-out, but it's easier because when you draw up, someone could give you a time, place and date, and you don't know who's given you that. It could be a man, it could be a woman, you have no idea. So but you can interpret that chart. The only thing you will not be able to tell is their sex, whether they're male or female. You can tell their sexuality, can't tell their sex.
Oh, that's interesting.
And you cannot tell the color of their skin. So everything else,
one would ask, does it really matter? So but one would ask, does that aspect really matter within the chart?
Well, no, it doesn't, but in a way, but you can tell most anything and everything else. People don't realize it really is a privilege when you're given someone's birth details, time, place and date, that they are really trusting you with everything, because you can tell their traits, their as I say, it's like a mirror. The more you look, the more you see. You can tell past lives, you can tell their sexuality, you can tell how many children they'll have, grandchildren, whether there be an Einstein or whether there be a bit of a dunderhead. You know, that you can it just goes on and on and on and on.
Yeah. Melissa's agreeing with Carol. Carol made a comment about she doesn't listen to hubby too much, telling her stories from the news because it can be so depressing, and Melissa's agreed. These are many things we don't know or have the answers to, and I believe that's the way the universe wants it to be. That's an interesting idea. Do you believe that we should have all the answers? Do you believe? Yeah.
Because if we've got all the answers, what's the point being here?
Yeah. Yeah, of course.
You know, nobody and nothing. Well, my late husband, he he said he was always right, and that's very difficult to live with. Someone who thinks
Okay.
they're always right, but nobody is always right. No one has all the answers. We just don't. We're just human beings trying to be the best we can.
Yeah.
And in learning things and passing on knowledge, you said earlier about was there anything that I wanted to be remembered for or something?
Like leaving a legacy.
A legacy.
Yeah.
I wouldn't for 1 minute deign to think that I had all the answers, because I don't. But I would like to think that I would leave something behind me that helped people.
Yeah.
For information, for passing on knowledge to, you know, what I believe today, next week, next year, I might believe differently or something else, because we're learning all the time, and we need to learn all the time. We need to have something to strive for. It's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a point of interest as well, what's the most interesting past life you've come across for astrology?
Interesting. Oh, so many actually. Really.
Anybody famous? If you come across the little guy who works down the garage who was Napoleon, that kind of thing.
No, not personally. No, I do know a past life regressionist who has done over the years, and he's written a lot of books.
Okay.
And he has met some people that have had some famous. His name is it's gone out of my head now.
You'll have to let us know.
Chris Lee. Sorry, Chris Lee.
We'll have to get him on the show. We'll have to try and get him on the show. So.
Well, he was living in Canada. I believe he's now living in Mexico, so you might have a bit of trouble.
I'm not sure BT broadband goes that far, but we can always try. We always try and find him.
But he's had some amazing clients over the years, and actually he regressed when he first met his wife. She was my friend when she met him, so we go back many years, her and I, and he asked if he could regress both of us simultaneously as an experiment. He'd never done it with more than one person at a time. And he regressed us both, and we found about at least 3 different lives that we'd been together in past lives. And it was amazing. He recorded it all, you know, on cassette tape when they were doing.
Yeah.
So, and it was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So there are lots of things out there we don't understand. There are lots of different ways of getting through and to get to the goal or to get to a higher level.
Yeah.
We have to find our own paths.
Yeah. I recently had a reading with someone who I believed, it wasn't just me, there was somebody else who had a past life as Joan of Arc.
Oh,
and she had the most amazing aura. Yeah.
I mean, she possibly, there's quite a lot of, again, different ways of thinking about this, because there's lots of people that have said they're Joan of Arc or Henry VIII, all this sort of thing. Now, there is a school of thought that says that about spirits fracturing, splitting.
Yes.
So if this is true,
hence twin flame.
Yes. But if this is also true, then that would explain why that several people think they were the one, like Henry VIII or Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
Maybe they were, if they are only linking into a fraction of Joan of Arc's spirit or Henry VIII's spirit.
Well, I saw her aura, and it was something like a stained glass window with the light behind her, the light, excuse me, her auric field above her head, her halo, if you like, was a flaming gold color. It was amazing. Wow. And I just couldn't work out what this person was doing here for reading. She was obviously a very high vibrational being who was incarnated into a fairly average sorry to say this, normal person, there's no such thing as normal, and somebody you wouldn't go, oh my gosh, who is this person? But another medium had told her she was reincarnated, she was the incarnation, or was, of Joan of Arc. And interestingly, she had a lot of trauma being around and doing a reading. She started to shake and get upset. Well, of course, because that was a past memory that needed healing. She was burnt at the stake, bless her. So
Yeah.
I found that fascinating.
Yeah.
So Claire, quickly coming back to you before I digress and go off. We have been going for quite some time. I want to quickly talk about you. Do you still do people's charts? Are you still offering that for people?
I don't do, because it's very, very time consuming, and I have, as I say, I'm a woman of many hats. I would rather teach. I do solar returns for people.
Okay. What is the difference?
Then well, a solar return is where it's like an annual thing. It's a solar return is, like it says, is when the sun, solar, returns to the exact position it was at the time you were born. And that will give you a chart that will indicate the things that are likely to happen this year. You know, you get some years where you just seem to get one lurgy after another, and you just think, oh, for goodness sake. Or you get some years where you move several times in 1 year, or you've had several jobs in 1 year. And that's because, excuse me, if you had looked at your chart before that year started, if a frog in my throat now, then you would see that that's sort of like the theme for the year. But you do also get longer lasting themes. So it may be that it's not just from that birthday to the next birthday that these things will happen. For quite intuitive people, it can have like a 3-month build up, and then a 3 months after that year is past, where it's sort of fading away. And of course, if it's a really huge thing that's happening, then it could be something that carries on for several solar returns. But that's very interesting to look at. It's a quicker form of chart interpretation, and it's more current. I think most people know what they're like, and a natal chart will show your personality and a lot of the things that you will know anyway. So why would you pay someone to do a chart for you if they're going to tell you the things that you already know? So I think a solar return is a bit like a tarot reading. So you can go and have a tarot reading. It's an hour or so, and it tends to focus on specific things that are current at the moment and the likely outcomes of those events. And the same with a solar return, but it's an astrological version. So it will look up where the planets are in the heavens now and what effects they are having on you now, and what would be best to do about it. So if this was the year you should buy yourself a piano to learn to become a concert pianist, you need to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So how do people find you if they would like a chart done? Is it celestial?
Question.
Is it celestial?
It's celestial directions. I used to have a website, but now I've found I don't really want one or need one. But I have. I mean, if anybody was interested, then I have no problems with you passing on my information, phone number. I'm better on the phone.
Well, they are listening to you live. So you are live. There's a lot of people listening. You might get a lot of inquiries after tonight. No, we won't. Yeah, Richard's just said we won't put the number live.
But or people email me or phone me. I prefer personality. I do. Yeah, I have to say I'm not really one for all this social media thing, really. Because there's just so much, people put photos on it and, of their dinner and things like that. And I think, I can't be bothered. I'm too busy to look at things like that, So there's a sticky one in a way, But as I say,
When's your next teaching? Where are you next teaching? So maybe people can contact you that way.
well, I teach at the moment. I haven't got anything specific coming up to do with astrology that's booked in. I have things to do with the temple, so people could get hold of me via the East Anglia Goddess Temple, which is on. We have a Facebook page, so that probably would be an easy way of getting hold of me. See, this is one of the things. I bob in and out of countries as well, you see. So you
do a lot of teaching around the world.
So it's very difficult for people to always get hold of me, and technology just does my head in. Emails and
Claire, can I just say that? Claire, can I just say you're like the best kept secret, hiding away up in the middle of Norfolk somewhere with all this knowledge and information that people would love to get their hands on. Lou Cook has just said Claire is such a lovely lady and very knowledgeable.
Oh, thank you. I'll pay you later.
But it's been like a conversation with an old friend. This is the first time we've truly met, and it's been absolutely brilliant. We can't thank you enough for coming on. And
thank you, Paul.
Yeah, the one question I would like to ask before we go, what next for you? I know teaching's a big thing.
Well, yes, teaching. I'd like to do more teaching. I would like to do more platform mediumship. I would like to do more tarot readings. I love to do tarot. I like meeting people face to face. That's what I like. I like in-person things. And to have a laugh. You have to have a laugh. You just do.
Keeps you sane.
It does. Well, I always say it's being mad that keeps me sane. With hair like this, I can't really sort of be, boring.
You have great hair. We love you. Claire Morgan, thank you so much for being a guest on Spiritual Talk on SBTV. We can't thank you enough. Thank you, everyone that's joined us this evening. Paul Cook as well, really enjoyed listening tonight. Thanks, Paul. Good to see you on here. And everybody else, Shelley as well, I'm very interesting, I must say. It's been an absolute privilege to have you come along and listen to our interview. We've actually overrun by quite a bit. We are supposed to finish at 7, but Richard seems to be enjoying his interview. So it's a blessing that we've got that extra time, and to have that extra time I've got a few more minutes, I've just been told. Guys, if there's anything else you'd like to ask Claire before she returns back to the wilds of Norfolk, is there anything you'd like to ask her? So I want to ask a question. What's the difference between a tarot and a mediumship reading? So a lot of people won't understand that simple.
Anybody can read tarot.
Okay.
So you just buy a pack of tarot and you get the little book. Mind you, I would throw that away. But you need to know what the tarot, each card means, and where they fall in a particular spread. So you need to sort of learn the fundamentals. But mediumship is,
Claire,
if you are a medium, you can use it together.
Sorry, Claire, to interrupt. On that, really, did you say throw the book away?
Well, yes. Okay. I don't, because to me, they are a tool, like all these things. Tarot is a tool, and you need to use them with your intuition, and you need to read the cards and let the cards speak to you, not just, oh, this is the Tower, it means doom, gloom and despondency. Well, it may do, that's the general sort of thing, but there's so much more to it. And all the cards, they've all got so much more to give than just what the little write-up is in the book. So read the book, and so you know what the suits are, you know what the major arcana is, the minor arcana, and with spreads, different spreads, and play with them, have a go and do some experimental readings for friends and family. But go with whatever first comes in your head. When you look at a card, go to the ones that you feel drawn to and just blurt it out. Doesn't matter if you're wrong, you're practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. And practice is the best way forward. I remember, I think I might have mentioned this already. I remember practicing mediumship, and people would ask me, what can I give you? And at the time I was quite heavily into red wine. Not so much now though, because it's not so good. It sort of sits on the tummy. So, but I had almost had to get planning permission for a bigger cellar. So it's the way forward. It is the way forward. People love to support you in the work in that way. I would recommend that. What in terms of predictions though with tarot, is that, how does that, because that can change quite easily when someone's looking for the future.
Yeah,
And
well,
then
we
you
all
get,
have choice, you see,
yeah,
that's the thing. And I could sit and do a reading for you today and say, oh, yes. I mean, I never say you're going to do this or you should do that. I don't. I always say you could do this. I give people a choice. It's their choice. And to say that this could happen to you, this, or the likelihood is that this is going to happen, and to give you some form of advice from the cards or from spirit as to how to deal with it or how to move forward beyond it.
yeah,
You know, so, but we all have choice in our life. You know, you're never going to meet Mr. Right if you don't go out into the world. He's not going to come knocking on your door. So if you've come for a reading saying, when am I going to meet the love of my life? Well, get out there and go and look for him. You know, get yourself
yeah.
out and about. So
There is a very much a fine line from going to see someone about relationships, you know, future relationships, and being in life. People have this kind of idea that life comes to us, but life doesn't, does it? People
no,
talk about manifestation as well, how to
yeah,
manifest the love of your life, how to bring things, but you do have to go, you have to also engage in life.
yeah,
There's a kind of a two-way thing going on here, and
yeah,
a lot of people will say, and that's another thing. Language is very important, Claire. Getting back to what we're saying about positivity, about when we manifest our life, it's what we say. You know, the classic being, do you know what? I never win anything.
yeah. Well, of
Always
course they're
close
not going
enough.
to, are they?
Absolutely. So
My
even,
favourite, sorry, Paul, I need to, but
that's
my
right.
very favourite one is, I always say, the perfect parking place awaits me now. And I
Oh,
always get a parking spot.
do you know what? You've obviously not been to Norwich lately at shopping. That's all I'm going
Well,
to say. It's quite crazy. But well, do you know, everybody at home, if you try that and it works, Claire does want 10%. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Okay. And Carol's put free will was given to us. Absolutely, Carol.
exactly. And it's called free will.
Yeah, yeah,
You are free to use it in any way you choose. If you
yeah,
use it positively, fabulous. If you
yeah.
use it negatively, you'll get that back as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, absolutely. I'm hoping there's no parking attendants listening. There'll be conspiracy theories going around. How
No,
to,
you say that in future, Paul. You say, perfect parking place awaits me now, and you will always get a space. Always.
okay.
I
Okay.
always get a space.
Yeah, yeah, okay. I would definitely keep that in mind. I know we're now coming to half an hour and a half we've been going actually live. And I know we've got another great program coming up. I believe we've got Bill Hughes coming up next. So, oh, not tonight. Oh, we can't make it tonight,
Oh,
but yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Trust me to plug something that wasn't going to be on tonight, as typical. Now, anyway, guys, you've been so patient. You've been brilliant, and listening to such a wonderful guest tonight, Claire Morgan. Someone's just put up. Nicholas just put up. I used to use the parking angel yesterday. Good on
yay!
you, Nicola. Good on you.
Excellent, Nicola.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Yeah, and
But do
Richard's
we
just said in
need
my
it,
ear.
you see? Do we
Yeah,
need money? Yes, we have bills to pay, but
yeah,
above what we need for our existence, what do we need? We need love, we need friendship, we need positivity, joy,
kindness,
happiness,
kindness.
kindness. Yes,
Yeah,
somebody said earlier on that's what she wanted to be remembered
yeah,
for, being kind, and that's what she would like to be
yeah,
remembered for, and that's
yeah.
very true.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And Richard's just made a good point. Health as well.
Health, yeah. Yeah, but that's another thing, you see. I'm fit and healthy every day.
Positive affirmations.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah. Claire Morgan, thank you so much. I know I keep saying it, but we are very appreciative for you coming on, giving up your precious time to be with us and to share some of your wisdom and some of your knowledge. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everybody that's come and attended this evening. And sorry I got the time wrong for those of you that are still listening. I thought it was 7 o'clock, not 6 o'clock. So I do apologise.
Not to worry. I do that kind of stuff all the time. No one would know. Absolutely. And in 2 weeks' time, we have the amazing Diana Cooper, and we're going to be talking about going into the new age. And her new book. So stay tuned for that in 2 weeks' time. Come back. Until then, guys, have a great weekend, and we will see you very, very soon. Take care, everybody, and thank you for coming.